In this video, I am gonna let you know what I got out of chapter 4 of the Atomic Habits book by James Clear. I don't want to waste your time, so I'm gonna just get right into the content. So chapter 4 of this book right here, Atomic Habits, was about the first law of habit formation, and that is make it obvious. What does he mean by that? In the chapter, James Clear outlined how, as human beings, we constantly are engaging in habits that we don't even realize that we're doing. An example of that is he told a story about a paramedic who went to a family gathering. She saw her father-in-law, and in her line of work, she's seen a lot of different things. And when she saw her father-in-law, she said, "You don't look well." He shrugged it off and kind of chuckled and laughed and said, "I don't like the way you look either." But she was very concerned, and she actually said, "You need to go to the hospital right now." Come to find out, the father-in-law actually had a massive blockage at his heart, and she saved his life because he had to get life-threatening, saving surgery right then, or he was at an extremely high risk to have a heart attack. How did she know that? Well, James Clear talked about how, unbeknownst to us, our brains, our minds are kind of working like supercomputers. And what we are doing when we're in certain professions, such as being a paramedic, a doctor, a combat veteran, a medic, whatever profession that you're doing, you start to pick up on the nuances, the different cues that you see in your profession, in people, and then your brain, your mind is kind of just storing it in a database for you to use later. So in that instance, the paramedic, she saw that her father-in-law had like blotchiness in his skin and his face. From her experience as a paramedic, she was able to deduct that he was not having the proper circulation going through his body, and she just knew right off the bat something didn't feel right, and she saved his life. So how can we implement this and learn in our lives? What we need to do to be able to be better and more successful and more productive is we need to realize what our unconscious mind is doing in regards to habits. A psychologist by the name of Carl Jung said this: "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." So we have a lot of unconscious habits that we're doing all the time that are dictating our lives. We're just not aware of it yet. It also indicates we must become aware of our habits before we can change them. We need to know what we're doing to hinder us and to also build ourselves up. We can properly assess them, become aware, and then change our habits. And he also went into an example of a habit that is a great system. He talked about how in Tokyo, they have an amazing transportation system, especially the trains. They have like the very high powered and fast trains. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Some of them go like 200 miles per hour. And the reason why their train system in Tokyo is so successful is because they have a system of operation using something called the pointing and calling system. What is that? That's during operation. Let's say, for instance, the train is heading towards a signal. The operator will literally point and call out, "The signal is green." And additionally, other crew members, when they're checking before the train departs or is arriving, the crew members will go to the deck where customers get onto the platform and look and call out and point and say all clear before they go on to the next step. It's been realized, and they noticed that they had an increasing decrease in any issues or accidents when they started implementing this system. Why? The process of pointing and calling actually does what we talked about at the beginning. it makes us more aware of the unconscious habits that we are doing all the time. By pointing physically and calling out, it's forcing us to get out of the minutia of the regular habits and realize what we need to do, be more aware, be more safe. That's what they were doing in that system. However, you can implement this in your daily life. And what James Clear talked about is a literal practice that you can start working on that could help you in that process. He talked about it as the habit scorecard. And in the habit scorecard, what you do is you literally list all the habits that you do getting up and going through about your day. So he listed it as first thing is wake up. Second thing, check your phone. Third thing, brush your teeth, and so on and so on and so on. There is literally a process that you can do with the habit scorecard where you can start ranking them. Whereas an effective habit is a plus sign, a detrimental habit is a negative, and a neutral habit is being an equal sign when you're listing it out. And then what you need to do is you need to go through that habit scorecard and figure out what things you are doing that are benefiting you and what things you are doing that are detrimental, and see if you can implement more of the effective things. Because we all know that we're human. We're all going to do things that aren't the best. Nobody's a robot. Like for me, for instance, when it comes to waking up, I have a bad habit. As soon as I wake up, I kind of grab my phone, I quick check, social media for a second. I check YouTube, I check my analytics. I know everybody that's doing YouTube, you do that. And that's not a really good habit to do. I'm just going to put it off the rip. But that is something that I'm noticing and I need to get better at. And what he said is, when you're doing your habit scorecard, don't be ashamed of any of the bad habits that you have. Oh, and he also talked about this. There are no bad habits or good habits. There are effective habits and there are detrimental habits. So when you're going through your habit scorecard, make sure that you're being honest about the actual bad habits that you do. And then an effective thing that you can do when you are trying to work through and get better with your habits is this. You could use the pointing out and calling out system yourself. For instance, if you're sitting on the couch, you're watching a movie or you're watching TV and you have a really deep urge to eat a chocolate cupcake, what you can do is, I'm not saying you can't eat the cupcake, you can, but before you do that, why don't you do this? Talk to yourself, literally out loud. I really want to eat that chocolate cupcake. I know it's not good for me and it's bad for my health, but I really want to eat that chocolate cupcake. Maybe you saying that won't affect you the first time or the second time. You might still go and grab that chocolate cupcake, but over time, pointing and calling out habits that you have, whether they're good or bad, is going to help you become more aware and adept and knowledgeable and conscious of those habits. So that's what I learned from chapter 4 of the book of Atomic Habits. And I am really loving this book because it's forcing me to look inward on things that I can improve on. And I hope that you guys are also gathering something from this, that you are implementing some of the information that is in this great book. And hey, if you want to check this book out, I left a link of it in the description where you can pick it up. And disclaimer, it's an affiliate link, so I do get a commission on the book if you do decide to pick it up. However, I'm going to continue doing this book series. You can get a new version, a new chapter. We're going to have chapter 5 coming up. That's going to be this upcoming Thursday. And let me know if you are reading this book. If not, let me know what books you are reading. I look forward to speaking to you guys in the comments. And I know that I have a lot of work to do in regards to getting better with some of the habits that I have. And this book has been helping me. And this series has been helping me stick to what I started. So that's been another video here on the Carrot Juice podcast. I really appreciate you guys. Oh, and I have an announcement. Thank you for listening, whether it's on audio version, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I'm on all those platforms now. And I have an announcement that I have even more content for you completely free and it is my website, which launched actually yesterday. And it is, I'll leave a link of it in the description, but it is carrotjuicepodcast.com. And there you can find all of my content. You could find all of my episodes. I'm going to be uploading my catalog of videos most likely. You also can see some blog posts that I have, anything in regards to get in contact with me, or just anything Carrot Juice Podcast is going to be right there on the website. I really thank you for being a part of this community. And if you aren't a part of this community thus far, come on down. I don't bite. All right. Like the video, subscribe to the content. And I really appreciate everybody who listens. And before going on too long and being too long-winded, I'm going to end it there. And until next time,